Well, welcome back. My name is Thomas E. Zeman. My friends call me Tom. And I am a former raging, functioning angerholic. And late in life, I actually figured out tips to quell mine. We're going to continue from our last talk today, from my second book, Taming the Anger Dragon from Pissed Off to Peaceful. And I wanted to kind of go back to not only when I figured out I had a problem and what it was and how to stop it, but I started thinking about all the problems that are caused in the world for maybe a millennium because of anger. I'm convinced that we right now live in the angriest time that I've ever seen. Maybe we just see it more on TV. Maybe because it's sensationalized in the news. But whatever it is, excuse me, it's prevalent and it's big time. And so when I started writing this book, really about 4 years ago, I went and did as much research as I possibly could. I tried to find books on Amazon, at the library, that were written for a layman like me that could be easily understood. There's a lot of books, workbooks out there for professionals that are written in a highfalutin language, and I'm like, it's like watching paint dry, and I'm going, this is not making sense. So I found some good ones. Dr. Gary Chapman does a great one on Thich Nhat Hanh, an excellent book on anger. But I am remiss because I did not think to go on YouTube and watch for some talks on anger. If I did, I would have found my new excellent friend, Dr. Christian Conte. He is considered the anger doctor right now of this millennium. He's got more PhDs than Carter had liver pills, and he's a nice guy. And he has done TED Talks, which I highly recommend. He goes into prisons, and it's been they've done surveys where the inmates that have actually followed his advice have actually had a lower rate of recidivism than ones that didn't practice what he said. This guy is the real deal. So big shout out to my buddy Dr. Christian. I highly recommend go to his webpage, drchristianconte.com. You can Google him, you can find him. Listen to his TED Talks. He talks about great ways to discipline children. He talks about mindfulness, which we're going to talk a little about today. He is like the Zen anger doctor. I salute you, my friend. It's so nice to meet you. So today, getting where we're going, today's talk, we're going to talk about anger triggers. We're going to continue from our last discussion, and I'm going to share some what I found to be very valuable tips on stopping anger in its tracks. And remember, I am the irascible, the pissed off guy. I could hide it though. I had the very nice, obsequious person who, when I'm selling auto glass back in the day, still have today, I'm walking in with my candy bag, and you'd never know what a jerk, what an a-hole I was, or what I could be. And again, not to belabor the dead horse, or belabor the point, or hit a dead horse, shoot him. But if you haven't seen any of the videos, it'll kind of bring this up to snuff. So you can watch these at any point, or share these, please. If you find value in these, share these, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But I had such low self-esteem, and I was harboring this 50-year pity party for a father that didn't want to be a father. This unfelt love that I had from him, this unrequited love. So I carried it around, and what I did for myself is I became a perfectionist nut. I did it on my lawn. In fact, it permeated every aspect of my life, and I tell you what, you can either be a perfectionist or you can be happy. One of the things I did. Other things I did is that I had so many little things that could drive me crazy. And I started compiling a list for my book. Again, Taming the Anger Dragon, called Anger Triggers. We all have anger triggers. Some that affect me, just going to be water off a duck's back for you. Other things that I couldn't care less about are going to bother you. And it's up to you to decide what your anger triggers are. That's a marvelous gift. If you know what is pissing you off, there are certain ways, and yes, I promise we will share this here shortly, of how to thwart them on the spot so that they don't affect you in the moment, and that's a key. I'll share some of my anger triggers. Now, I wrote the book in tongue-in-cheek in some ways. I wanted it to be funny. I mean, come on, this is dark stuff, so we tried to lighten it up a little bit, but I also wanted it to be serious and dark. I was a very troubled soul. I was dark. You would not have liked me. The facade that I put on was not who I was inside, and that was the problem. And it was my anger triggers. Now, I'll start out with a few of these. One, alcohol. Now, I still love an icy cold Pilsner. It's one of my favorites, but in moderation. One thing I can't tell you, and you might have noticed this, that with yourself or with other people, is that the mood that you go into drinking, it can adversely and intensify the effect. That's that anger dragon in you. It starts welling up. Now, that anger dragon, it's a wonderful servant. It actually would help you, but it's a terrible master. And that's where you come in, to telling your anger dragon how to help you. And we'll talk about that shortly. So alcohol. If you're pissed off, I would highly recommend do sublimate your feelings in other ways. It's not going to help. Your problems are still going to be there. Some of my other ones. Rude people. Now, these will still affect me. You can ask my lovely wife, but not to the extent where it's driving me insane. But rude people, people who are picking on other people, who are finding fault in other people. Isn't it ironic the things that piss us off in other people's are most true about ourselves? Well, so rude people especially, nasty people, people who just trying to hurt other people. And now these days I'll avoid them, and we'll talk more how these aren't going to affect you as much. I'm trying to give you, again, anger triggers that you might find that, oh yeah, that bothers me too. Smokers. This is one to this day. Now, there's two types of smokers that I find. There's very courteous ones who would never smoke in a car with kids, who would never put a butt out, on your property, and then there's other ones who are very rude. I've been in situations where I don't know what it is. You're at a beautiful setting, have a great friend. He was having a memorial for one of his great friends who died of brain cancer. The deceased person's family's there. They're sitting over this beautiful table. It was incredible. Cheese and fruit. The best guacamole on the planet. And this young man knows who he is, who makes the best guacamole. And these people are like smoking, like cigarettes dangling over the table. And this was a very somber event, and I actually started using some of my own advice. And I just walked over and I kindly said, hey, do you mind not smoking around this food? Do you mind? Where before I would have been pissed. There would have been blood in my eyes, and I probably would have been ugly. Now, they didn't like it one bit. I got the look of disdain. But they kind of gruffed at me and moved on. But it was like the light went off. It's like, hey, this stuff really works. So not being around them would be a suggestion, if you can, that can take that anger down. I'm not saying that you won't get angry. You just won't have the effect that it did in the past. Moving on. I drive. I'm on the road for my regular job. I sell auto glass, and I'm on the road probably 7 to 8 hours a day. So you can imagine the drivers I've seen for 26 years. They're dangerous ones. There's traffic issues, and these issues used to grind my soul. But now I just go into it with a different mindset that, hey, they're going to be out there. I'm not going to let it affect me as much. And if I see crazy people, I kind of avoid them. I just try to stay away from them. It's ironic. They'll be you'll see the guys, and you've seen these people. They'll be weaving out, speeding up, going back and forth. And yet I'm just cruising along, dum-de-dum, in my car, and we'll get up to a light. I've arrived. I'm calm. And there you can see that they're like freaking out. You can see them holding on the wheel, and like they've got helter-skelter in their eyes. And I'm just going, whatever, dude. I don't even look at them. I used to like, to my chagrin, one time this guy cut me off and I followed him. I'm not proud of it today. It almost cost me a job. But I've quelled it down. I just stay away from them. Just know I go into the car knowing it's going to be out there. All right? Computer rage. This one still gets me. I've been to the point where I've slammed phones down, laptops. It's going to happen. You just got to think about all the times that the computers actually served you well, and walk away from it. If you can't figure, you get mad. Me getting mad about it is not going to help the situation, and I call someone who can help me. It works out on me. It works better for me. World disasters. They happen all the time. By me getting angry about it, it's not going to change it. In fact, I grieve inside, and I think, and as I've mentioned in the past video, it's my belief that grief and anger are sisters of the same cloth, brothers of the same cloth, whatever vernacular you want to use. come before or after. World disasters are going to happen. And if I have helped myself to feel better by, for example, when there was a tsunami and to send money to Mercy Corps or whatever. Just acceptance, as the greatest masters have said. Doesn't mean you like it. Doesn't mean you agree with it, but it's just an acceptance. Hey, it's going to happen, and if I can help, I will. And that goes along with news broadcasts. I have significantly lessened my watching of any news. I treat myself to 1 hour in the morning of NPR, and then my guilty pleasure is watching Bill Maher on Fridays, and no commercials. So I mean, in my life, I just feel like I'm less stressed because I don't hear all. If it's big enough, I'm going to hear about it in the morning, and then I can carry on with my day, and I'm not constantly hearing this and seething and carrying that, letting that dragon start pumping smoke. I just take a deep breath, and I accept it what it is. And this one is going to be a tougher one, especially if you're a homeowner. Our neighbors. I've had some doozies for neighbors, and believe me, I play my music loud, and I am the constant blower. I've got an amazing backpack blower, and some of my neighbors probably don't like to hear that, so they probably could be angry at me. But I've had some intense ones. And now what you have a choice, I've said to myself. If you really hate the neighbors, then move. Try to befriend them. Try in your mind to see yourself, if you can, for them liking you. Visualize it. It may work, it may not. Try it. If not, you can stay there and just accept it, or you can move. That's one suggestion. Everyone I know has had some kind of financial issues where the month lasts a lot longer than the paycheck, and sometimes I'm feeling good, a couple of books sold, and then boom, I'm going out, and I realize, ooh, maybe I should have saved a little more. It can happen. I make no excuse from it. In fact, I've turned my whole life around. I used to get pissed off when the bills would come in. I've actually paid my bills these days with enthusiasm. Why? I look at it as a benefit. When I get that electric bill, hey, the electric company had faith in me. They allow me to have electricity. They allow me to run my water heater. They allow me to do everything in my house, and then they send me, their thank you note at the end of the month. Thank you for using us. That, just paying my bills with enthusiasm, has absolutely changed my attitude about it. And I'm actually grateful when I'm paying my bills. When I used to have to send my tax, when I have to send my tax bill in at the end of the year. Now I've got a great tax lady. Thank you, Mary. I haven't had to do it, but I would put on the check itself, I send this check with enthusiasm. I would just love to see the person who actually read the check, if they were dying or gasping, one of the two. But it's just the attitude about the money. It's going to be there. It's acceptance, and I'd rather do it with joy in there. Mechanical breakdown, something that happens to everybody. One thing that's helped me is I think about all the times, for example, I still have my 2005 Dodge Intrepid. I love the car. One time in my career, for a short time, I didn't have a car. So I said, I will never be without a car, so I've kept this car to this day. And it runs great. It's got like 80,000 miles on it. And it runs like a top, but it's been times when it's broke down. Did I used to get mad? Yes. Furious, pounding at the wheel. I look like a madman. But when I think about it today, I think about all the times that it's served me well. And things are going to happen. I realize that, I accept it, and it makes me feel better about it. It's a good car. I love my old car, but I like the other one too. So, illness. Illness can make you mad. I mean, you can get angry about it, but really, does it do any good? No, I mean, sometimes you want to have it. I have a great friend who helped me write this book, Edie Weinstein, and she talks about, she's a licensed therapist, which I'm not. And she talks about, sometimes it's good to have a pity party. Have the pity party for yourself. Feel bad about yourself. Write it all down. Do the anger dance, and then let it go. It's more just of acceptance. Do you like it? No. It is what it is. It's more of an acceptance thing. You're going to feel better about it. It's probably not going to make you happy, but it's going to have less effect on you. And that's the key, is to lower the intensity of things that affect you so that you're not going off on the deep end. You're not going from 0 to 60. I'm in the service industry, okay? And I get an earful all day long from unhappy customers. It's rare when they're calling me going, hey, you guys did so good. It's usually you screwed up and I'm taking the brunt of it. It used to really bother me. But I just try to look at it from there. I walk a mile in their shoes, and I try to look at it from their point. It doesn't do me any good, even if not all customers are right, but it doesn't do me any good to make them wrong. So I try to deal with it. So when the shoe's on the other foot, when I got someone here, the cable guy or the guy to come clean my wood stove, and they don't show, I know. I've been there when, for whatever reason, there's mechanical breakdown, someone doesn't show up for work, so I just take that into account that things are going to happen, that it probably wasn't on purpose, and I move on. And again, this is all about acceptance. This one's a killer, and it's stress. And we all stress from different things. I know. Look at this hair. What hair I have left here. I was the king of stress, the premature and gray hair. And it just got to the point where I was sick and tired of being stressed and tired. And again, it's acceptance. Did I like some of my situations? No. Well, if you don't like it, Z-Man, what are you going to do about it? I guess I got to change my attitude and I got to start doing something, because just bitching about it ain't gonna help it. To figure out what my problem was and how I could make it better is going to make it better. And figuring out different joy triggers, which will be in a later get together that we have. We'll talk about today's anger triggers. We'll get to joy triggers at another time. But figuring out how to add those joy triggers to know them and to add them to enhance our life, that can make a significant difference. We talked about taxes, politics. I don't even get into. I don't have enough. I'm not eloquent speaker enough or to have a full grasp of the entire issues to even make cohesive or cogent arguments. So I try to stay out of them. I don't post it on my Facebook page. I'm liberal, and I know there's people who are cringing. I write a whole chapter on liberalism in here. We will not discuss it now. It's another 15-minute talk, but that's just me. And I don't tell people how to vote. I just know what's right for me. You'll know what's right for you, and that's where I stand on that. Now, here's one that still irritates me. The ignorant cell phone user. You know them. The ones in the theater. We can see you. It's dark in there. We see your light, and we see you talking. Now, I've had points where I've actually got up and got in their face, and then I've even felt bad afterwards. It's like you can see the chagrin. It did no good. And for what I do, like in a theater these days, I've just actually got up and go get the manager. And just realize, I don't know why a woman with a 6-month-old kid would bring her 6-month-old, to see Jurassic Park 3. I don't know. Maybe she was bored. There was a lot of people who were very pissed off in that theater. You could feel the tension. And once I got up to go get the manager, she kind of just hurried out. So just little things so that it doesn't bother you quite as much. And now you can laugh about it. At the time, no, it's not funny. You know the difference between comedy and tragedy? Comedy is when it happens to you. Moving on here. This is an interesting one. For years I've had roommates. And I am a neat freak, okay? I admit, Tom Zeman, yes, I am a neat freak. I'm OCD, I'm ADD, ADHD, all those things you could possibly put to a person. That's me. I like things tidy. If you open it, you close it. If you take it out, you put it back. I like stuff in a certain way. I have a great friend, Joel, who will come over, and I'll move his drink, and he'll move it right back. And he's a husky, too, so what do you want? Anyway, what I found with roommates, getting back, I digress, is that setting it up properly, if you have to have one, is going to help you so much. Knowing what you're angry, knowing what you can stand. My wife is so easy. She's a saint. She hasn't killed me yet. And she can tolerate me because I'm not for everybody. I'm intense. I'm loud. I can be obnoxious. I mean well. But, I'm loud. I'm from the East Coast. I could have been Italian. Who knows? It's for Bobby Sylvester. Hey, Bobby. I had a roommate. And I thought I really had vetted this guy. Good meditator, claimed to be the Zen guy. One thing, and how do you bring this stuff up? This guy was the king of flatulence, okay? He stunk. I'm sorry, and he was proud of it. If I called him out of his pew, he'd like me, bad guy. Hey, it's a natural thing, and you better deal with it. Well, one time, this is a little funny story. I got cats, okay? I'm the cat man. And we're sitting in the firm, and we're watching our favorite show. We're watching Breaking Bad. And I had a cat in Breaking Bad, funny for this story, right? And my cat was actually sitting down just a little far away from him, and all of a sudden he lets out just a juicy screamer, right? I know my daughter cringes when I say that, but all of a sudden the cat that was in a sound sleep wakes up. Eyes open, little tongue was out, and the cat hauled out, and all of a sudden the walk, I'm going, oh my God, and then he's, that was it. That was the night that I had to kick his stinking butt out. Who knew? Who knew? I can laugh about it now. Finally, and believe me, there's a lot more anger triggers that you can have. I try to make light of them right now. Humor is really going to be one of your best defenses against anger. We'll talk about that anon in the future. But this one's a tough one, and this is having rude bosses. We've all had them. I've had some great bosses. I had one of my greatest bosses in the world, Kent Martin. The guy was amazing. And I've had rude ones too. And it's to the point where I'm up Sunday night sweating about numbers, worrying what the guy's going to think. You could not please this guy. You know, and it went on and on. So finally it was just to the point of, do I value my happiness or do I value the job? Now, fortuitously for me, he had moved on and allowed me to stay in the industry, but it was to that point. So it's a question, you know, what can you do? You just have, that's what you're going to have to figure out yourself. Maybe you can visualize seeing this person being nice to you. I've heard in some ways. Maybe you can have a nice talk. Maybe you have to bring HR into it. I don't know. That's going to be up to you. But there are other ways that you can do it without having to carry this angst and this pain around. In summary here today, as I promised, I'm going to share some tips of how to stop anger on the spot. They work for me. They may or may not work for you. Try it. It might work. If they don't work for you, if you hate this, by all means, come to my Facebook page, Tom Z-Man. Tell me you hated it. Come to the YouTube page, subscribe. Tell me what you liked about it. Tell me things you want me to talk about on the next one, or tell me where I missed the mark. Hey, dude, you're an idiot. Believe me, be brutally honest. I need to hear it to get better. Tips. What I like about Dr. Conte, to come full circle, is that it would have made my job so much easier when writing this book. He says things with such flair and such eloquence and such elegance, and it would have helped me put things just so that they would have been just a little more polished. Didn't have you, buddy, but I got you now, so love you. One thing he said, and it's funny, a lot of the ideas that I have, he says them different, but they seem to mirror each other. Watch his page. You be the judge. Know yourself. Paying attention to the message in your stomach. I got this from Deepak Chopra. Your stomach. You know, trust your gut. Your stomach actually has intelligence in it. Every cell in the body, and he talks about the neuropeptides. I love that. Has intelligence. Learn to be in tune with what's going on. Knowing yourself. Your heart, too. Your heart's like an antenna. Your heart will tell you. If you follow, you know that little voice that you hear? Maybe not hear it, but it just urges you to do the right thing? Me, it does. Follow it. Start listening to it. Listen. Start paying attention to the clues. When you start, it's mindfulness, as Dr. Conte, as Eckhart Tolle would say, living in the now. To be present. If you know yourself and you're living in the eternal now, you're going to know when things are starting to piss you off or starting to elevate. And you can quell them right on the spot by, number one, remaining calm. He, in an argument, who loses the argument. It's that way in negotiations too. It's just being able to ask yourself right then on the spot, is this going to matter in a week? Is it going to matter in 5 years? Some people are going to be jerks. You know, if they want to be jerks, is it any skin off your back? As long as they're not doing any physical harm to me or hitting me in the wallet, you're going to be that way, that's fine. I don't have to be around you. I know that regardless of what happens, I have a choice every second of the day, every minute of how to respond. Now, when things like those anger triggers start coming up, it's so easy to want to ride that furor, that anger, that rush. I'm telling you, it's a rush. It could be a rush. You ask yourself, for that 30 seconds of rush, is it going to be possible? Is it going to be worth maybe ruining a relationship for years, losing a job, doing something foolish? You know, that you'll have to ask yourself. I like to ask this, you know, is it going to be worth the repercussions that are going to happen by going off on this person? Ask questions if you can. If you have to be around people that absolutely are energy vampires, as Steve McSwain would say, Ann Hughes would say too, know when you go into the situation to situate yourself where you don't have to engage them. You can make small talk. You don't have to be rude. But if they say something, again, that's harmful, is just calmly ask them if it made them feel better when they said that to you. And just walk away. Or just say, you know, it really hurts me when you say that. Don't appreciate it. If they're family, you're going to have to be around, but you don't have to make a stink about it. And if they're willing to listen, because a lot of them is going to fall on deaf ears. They've already known more than you've forgotten. Avoid them. Doesn't mean you don't love them. I don't agree with having people in your life because you're supposed to love them if they can't accept your lifestyle, if they don't agree with how you're living, your politics, your choice of mate, or whatever. You can love them. You do not have to hate them. Forgive them. Again, we're going to talk about forgiveness. It's going to be a big one. That might be longer than 15 minutes. And again, finishing this up, the breathing, focusing on your breath, the 4-4-4. Breathe in on 4, hold for 4, and let it out on 4. I was at the Mahasiddha Buddhist Temple here in Portland, and the great teacher, Heather, was teaching a meditation. And she said in theirs with the breathing, they envision a dragon and taking in, and I love the dragon aspect, taking in the breath, breathing out black smoke. So when you're taking out all the animosity, the pain, the anger, the things that do not serve you, when you're breathing out, you can visualize black smoke just going up into the horizon, letting the energy go. It doesn't pollute. It just dissipates, and we let it go. We let it go. Our next video blog is going to cover suggestions to enhance your inner peace. Until then, namaste.